I cannot tell you how many times I have heard of a husband and wife team pushing themselves too hard, not understanding the full scope of the work that it takes to install everything. And I heard one woman and I just like my heart went out because she was saying, I just put my earbuds in and I told him to not talk to me. And you stay in your lane and I'll stay in mine. And I'm like, oh, like I am a single woman. I do not want to see other people out there and struggling in their relationships. It makes me really sad to hear that. And it makes me sad to know that other people have pushed their children. I'm one of these, push their children too far. And when you get a new property, they go, "Oh, why do you keep doing this?"
Welcome to Short Term Rental Solutions, a show for hosts and property managers looking to overcome obstacles, maximize revenue, and optimize their short term rental business by learning from the innovators who are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry. Hey, everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of the Short Term Rental Solution Show. I am your host, Christiane Crump, and we have got a great show for you today because we're going to be talking about the thing that everybody has to deal with sooner or later, and that's property setup. And I have got just the person for that conversation, Kim Fitzpatrick, who has mastered the 7-day property setup, which seems crazy, but she's done it. So, hey, Kim, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Hi, Christiane. I love being here and I love talking about these things. So, yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's kind of jump right in. Will you just take a minute and introduce yourself? Kim and I have known each other for years now. And so I know all about her and the incredible things she's done and the myriad of properties that she's worked on. But I want you to just, introduce yourself to our listeners and give us the 411 on how in the world you ended up with this.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it quick. I am a single mom of two kids. I was divorced a number of years ago, and I started using Airbnb as my way of generating extra income so that my kids could stay in the after school activities that they loved and that we could continue our quality of life. I say I was a middle school PE teacher? I don't. Anyway, so that's what I do. I love the energy and the little bit of chaos and bringing it into order that I got from the students at school. And then it just grew and grew and grew at me as an owner, as an investor. And I started to see a real need for other owners who are buying properties remotely and they're trying to set up, but they don't have the luxury of week on, week off parenting like I had done. So I would go in and help friends and family set up their listings, but I had a week because that's my parenting schedule. The 7-day setup lady didn't come from any sort of earth shattering science. Just I want to be home with my kids. And when they're gone, I go to work. So yeah, I enjoy being in the thick of things. I'm very tactile. I'm very people oriented. So the bustle and the hustle and the doing is right up my alley.
Yeah, that's perfect. I can vouch for all of that. Kim is nonstop energy and she gets stuff done. So, yeah, you're amazing at that. So, all right, let's just walk through a scenario over the course of our conversation here. I'm an owner. I've bought a property. I know I'm going to be going through this setup process. Really school us on how we can you know, strategize and prepare and really make this as efficient as possible and hopefully be able to pull off something at least remotely close to what you can do with this 7-day setup.
So I'm glad you asked this question. I do get asked it a lot. And the things that you need to think about and prepare for are probably different than what you're going to expect me to say. I mean, yes, I have traditional answers like get all the heavy stuff moved in the first 2 days because your body will get so sore that you won't want to move anything after that. And then your rate of efficiency drops so quickly after that. So you are going to be the most efficient with moving the heavy stuff when your muscles are not screaming at you. So you want to get everything moved close to where it should go in the first 2 days. You want to put rugs down before you start building beds and putting mattresses on top and before you start putting couches in the living room. So strategize like your level of effort it takes. I will tell you, it takes like 10 minutes or less to roll out a rug in a room that's empty. It takes about an hour with three people to jam a rug under a bed while you're lifting. And the level of exertion is just so much more if you're not like paying attention to your order of operations. So, like all your old math teachers that had like a specific order of operations, that's there for a reason, even in installs. But then the other things you really got to pay attention to is managing energy and mood and frustration. So it's like the mental game is equally as important as the strategizing of like your physical game, right? So if you are doing something frustrating, walk away. Take a break because your frustration if it just gets harder and harder and harder and you just get bogged further and further down, you're not going to be as successful as if you stay positive, stay motivated, and keep getting those quick wins. So, in addition to like putting the rugs down before the heavy stuff, you also don't want to start by building the most complicated piece of furniture out there. A lot of people be like, okay, we got the rug and we got the bed. Let's tackle the dresser. And it has six drawers, and you have to put the drawer glides on there and their little ball bearings, and those things are really challenging and can like wreck the best of us mentally. So don't start with the drawers. Start with something simple where you're just twisting some legs on and you're like, okay, I'm feeling good. And then your confidence is boosting. And then tackle more and more difficult pieces of furniture after that. But you just don't want to start with the hardest thing first. You're going to get mentally bogged down. You're going to get frustrated and it's going to kind of spill into everything after that.
Yeah. Well, I hear you talking about really kind of layering, building the layers as you're, putting your property together very intentionally, thinking about, okay, once I put something down, I don't want to have to move it again. So that's why getting the rugs down before you put the bed in there means you don't have to move the bed to get the rug under. And I have done exactly what you said about needing to get a rug under bed. And it was because I was doing a property refresh. It was a property that was already up and running, and we decided to add a rug under an existing under a bed in a bedroom. And so, yeah, it's a ton of work. It was a king bed, and we're trying to like get this full rug under a king bed. And wow, it's a ton of work. So you definitely want to be strategizing in those ways. But even when you're in the ordering phase, like because it's crazy when you're ordering furniture for an entire house. That's not the way that we normally live. Like when I moved into, a new house as, newlyweds or a new home, I may have like a home office or whatever that goes months before I finally get around to buying the furniture and finishing putting together that room. But we don't have that luxury when we're putting together a short term rental property. We have to literally buy every single thing that this property is going to need all at once. And that can amount to ordering hundreds of things. So,
Can
help
I
us
can I
out. How
correct
do we
you?
what?
I would love to correct you on that. I've actually added it up. It's not hundreds, it's 100,000. Closer to 300,000 for a four-bedroom and beyond, for real. If you think of every towel, every, like, dish, every cup, everything, it is between 100 and 300,000 items that you have to say, "Yes, I would like bath towels. Quantity, what?" Silverware, quantity, what? Coffee mugs, what is the quantity? It becomes, just a huge undertaking.
Yeah. So, how do we stay organized and how do we keep ourselves from completely going crazy?
So I would say if you're going budget friendly, there is a lot of tools and resources out there for free where you can grab somebody's install, like their stocking list. And I would definitely do that at least to double check. You might find that they're missing things that are important to you, but you also might find that they've added something that you never thought about, like a pizza cutter or a wine bottle opener or some other obscure kitchen item. So I think it's really important to go look on the internet for free resources and double check your list. A little bit more costly, but will save you time. So again, it's always a time versus money situation, and you have to decide what's best for you. Is I really, really see the value in hiring a designer because they will go room by room by room and they will keep it cohesive and it will all make sense. It will all be to the right scale with each other. I don't know if you've ever ordered anything on Amazon and it has come back like micro tiny and you're like, that is not what I thought I was getting. No wonder it was the price it was, right? So I implore you to hire a designer to really like think through your entire home design and how your guests are going to use that space. They are great. They will source all those things, 100,000 items. If it's 1 minute per item, which it's not, as you know, because you have to think of size and scale and color and price and delivery times. Like, how far out is that? And if you're thinking of all of those things, and that's just what I came up with on the top of my head, it's a lot of work. And so it's a lot of minutes, it's a lot of hours. And then to pull it all together is incredible. It takes tons of time. So I say hire a designer, let them do all the hard work for you. And then maybe they give you options like, do you like this or this or this? And you still have input, but it's the fun parts. It's not like the grit in the struggle. So,
And I'm gonna chime in right there because I've started doing property management for people, just getting rolling, newbie in that realm. But it's been interesting as I've begun having conversations with potential owners
mm,
who, in my particular market, that's a lot of new construction homes that people have built, or even homes that people have bought and remodeled. And they contact me when they feel like the home is pretty much ready and they're ready to select their property manager, which I can understand how that makes sense. You don't want to go find a property manager when you're like still, 3 to 6 months out. Yeah, I can understand that. But man, I just wish that I would have had the connection to those people earlier because they've spent the money, they've furnished the home, they think that it's ready, and then they give me the address and they send me the pictures and I'm like, this home is not going to perform as well as they hoped that it would because of the design that they've put together. And I guess in my situation, I've talked with a lot of people who aren't just straight up investors. They have purchased homes in an area that they enjoy vacationing to, or a reason similar to that. They're seeing it as a second home that they're going to rent some in order to help offset the mortgage. And so by and large, they may have furnished that home to their tastes and their preferences. And that is not necessarily what they need to do in order to have it ready for as a short-term rental. And so, man, I just can't even say enough to underscore what you just said. If you're someone listening to this show who's kind of in that boat or knows someone who is in that boat of having a second home that they're considering putting out there as a short-term rental, please at least like talk to your friends and find someone who knows someone who's an interior designer that you can have that conversation with. There's also so many interior designers who are short-term rental specialized that have courses or will do a virtual design consultation where they you can send them your pictures and they will give you recommendations of ways in which you can take whatever budget you have and really maximize the impact of that budget by doing those few things that will really help make your property stand out and stop the scroll and get people to consider your property when they're looking to book a home. So I could get on a total soapbox there, but you are 100% right.
yeah, I think it's really important to work with the designer for so many reasons. They're in this space all the time. This is what they do, especially short-term rental designers. They understand the different needs of a short-term rental vacation home versus a residential home. And then the other thing on the back end that's really great, if we're going back to install, is that they will create spreadsheets and mood boards and floor plan layouts so that they can do the design and then you can do the install. And they will give you tools that will make your install so much faster than if you just order a bunch of stuff and you think, okay, that'll go there, that'll go there. But then you have to then communicate all of that information to somebody else or do it on your very own. It's going to just take you so much longer. So the tools that they give you and the resources that they give you to communicate that design is going to be really helpful in your install process as well.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? Over on STR Hub, we actually have a growing directory of interior designers who have specialized in the short term rental industry. So if you're in the position of needing that assistance, whether you're just starting a property from scratch or you're needing to do a refresh, reach out to some of those professionals because the money that you spend for those consultations or that assistance will more than come back to you in the increase in bookings when you have a property that really stands out and pops. So, okay, here we are. We're doing our ordering, but one of the other things that I know that as you work with people through your company launched host that you talk about with them is maximizing space. What are some thoughts and considerations as far as that goes?
As far as maximizing space in the design, that is definitely a designer question. You would want to make sure to work with them because they know how much clearance you should have, like around a kitchen island when you're opening a refrigerator and just the space it takes to scoot a chair in and out of a table. These people have gone to school for this. They have the training for this. They know this. So yes, all of that space planning definitely comes from the interior designer. So that is worth its weight in gold. I cannot tell you. I've definitely done my own interior design and I've gone like, huh, how does this couch fit? How do we walk around it? How do we get into the room? And yes, we are the implementers of the design. So we follow the plan. We are given a Lego kit. We are told how high to hang the TVs, how high to hang the curtains, how wide from the windows. And we have all of that set so that we can go execute.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm also curious because there may be a lot of people listening and watching today's show who they know that this concept of doing a whole setup and an install is super overwhelming. And yet they're a little bit budget constrained. So they may not be able to afford a company that can come in and just kind of do it all for them. But tell us a little bit about the opportunity that you guys provide for people to kind of have a chance to come on to one of your installs and get that education through the hands-on experience so then they can go home and execute for themselves.
Well, first of all, I would want them to do the math on their pro forma to decide if an install is something that they can afford to hire out or if they're going to do it themselves. I think it's really key to know what your like as you everybody is different, but what can your family and what can you afford to do? I heard somebody say that it took them 6 months to install their property. They lived in Michigan. They were going down to Florida and they were flying back and forth almost every weekend. And I thought, why are you doing that? How much are you spending in flights? How much are you spending in time just back and forth from the airport? And what is your time worth to you? And what are your carry costs on your property? So I implore you to really take a deep dive into what you're willing to do and what your true time like freedom is. If you have 2 weeks of vacation from your job, do you want to spend it doing a new job or do you need that like mental break? I will say half of what I do, I feel like I am helping families stay together because I cannot tell you how many times I have heard of a husband and wife team pushing themselves too hard, not understanding the full scope of the work that it takes to install everything. And I heard one woman and I just like my heart went out because she was saying, I just put my earbuds in and I told him to not talk to me. And you stay in your lane and I'll stay in mine. And I'm like, oh, like I am a single woman. I do not want to see other people out there and struggling in their relationships. It makes me really sad to hear that. And it makes me sad to know that other people have pushed their children. I'm one of these, push their children too far. And when you get a new property, they go, "Oh, why do you keep doing this?" Because they know the work involved and they know the frustration and struggle. So we want to take that from your plate. That counts for something, even if you can't write it on a pro forma. So your time is important. And you have to be accurate with your estimation. Yes, we do it in a week. No, almost nobody else does that. I have not heard of anybody being that successful. And in fact, I would line out exactly what we do each day to get it done in a week and I get people calling me crying, angry, upset, frustrated. They're not meeting the same deadlines we are. And it's just because they don't have the same resources and experience. I play basketball. I am not Kobe Bryant. No matter how much I play, if I play equal to him, I will never be Kobe Bryant. I shouldn't probably use that as an example, maybe Steph Curry or LeBron James, but I will never be these people, even if I aspire to be. So we need to set realistic expectations for ourselves, for our time, what we can do each day, and our experience behind it.
How many people are typically on a job?
The way we do it is we live on site and we start out like we are camping in an empty house. So, night one, we are looking for mattresses to sleep on and we are digging through boxes in the garage to make sure that we have something comfortable to sleep on. But it's important to me, going back to what I said about mood and handling like frustrations, we need our own space to like unwind, recharge, get a really good night's sleep. So, I try not to have more than one installer per bedroom. Occasionally, we do have more, but I try to give people their privacy and their space, but we live together as a family, one big happy install family. It's a little bit like adult summer camp. It's a little bit like a mini mastermind, but we come and so based on your house, if you have a 6-bedroom house, we'll probably have 5 or 6 people. If you have a 3-bedroom house, we'll probably have 3 or 4, and it fluctuates from there.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wanna go back. You have, like, an intern program, right? Where
I
people who wanna
do.
learn tell us about that.
So my intern program is I will recruit people to come on site and they work with us for 7 days and I just throw them into the deep end of the pool and they get a real taste for what we do. And I will have like a to-do list every day. We're going to tackle all these things day one. We work with our skill set of who comes to do this. Some people love laundry and dishes and organizing and making sure things are perfect. Other people love building games and like all the arcade stuff. Some people are like, I don't know, I'll just lift the heavy stuff upstairs. And we are like, thank you. We love you. So we have a variety of skills that we all bring to the table. And some people are really great at working by themselves and they need that quiet. So we find them a quiet space to go do that. Other people work better as a team. So I look at what your aptitudes are, what your preferences are, and then I'll put you on tasks that you like when you come and work with us. And if you are feeling overwhelmed, we will make sure that we are managing that so that you're not overwhelmed, but that we go through the process. We may have to back up and go forward again and back up and go forward again. And that's okay. But truly, we throw you in the deep end of the pool and you're doing everything. You are a full fledged installer and you see how we do it. And if you love the atmosphere of the team, the family, the living and working and eating together. And you like the excitement. And then the ta da at the end when everything is done, then we invite you back and we encourage you to do more projects. And then by your third or fourth or fifth project, you will be leading your own teams in your own states. And often I am not there. So currently I've got 5 projects in 5 weeks in 3 states, and I will not be at 2 of those projects. And yeah, just because of the leadership that is developed. And I show you all of the spreadsheets and all of the leadership stuff, and we slowly work you into that position if that's something that you like to do and you love the thrill of Christmas morning at the short-term rentals.
Opening a million boxes in one day, right?
Right, yeah, and smashing it all down in the dumpster and all of the fun that goes with it, yeah.
Right? Yeah, but an amazing learning opportunity. I mean, even if someone decides that it isn't necessarily that they don't necessarily want to join the Launch Toast team, but an amazing opportunity to get a chance to be there and get educated so that, if you have additional future installs in your future, you have a skill set that can help you not lose your mind on your own projects. I think that that's fantastic. So, give us a sense here, for people who know that they may have some installs in their future. Your company launched Host. Tell us a little bit about that and what it looks like working with owners and helping them get their properties ready to go.
Working with owners is really great. It's like a triangle. It's 3 of us together. It's the owner, it's the designer, and it's the install team making each leg of that. And often if you are an owner and you're looking to purchase a property and you're like, when do I contact you? As you were saying at property management, if you wait too long, then you don't get the benefit of getting launched as quickly as you would like, especially as we are in springtime now, coming into spring break and all of those high summer bookings. You want to get launched quickly. So we say that if you're purchasing a property, you want to contact us when you're feeling really confident that the purchase is going to go through. So maybe even before you're clear to close, you want to start working with designers and going through and interviewing them and deciding what one is a good fit for you. And we can help you find designers. We work with a lot. We have our preferred list. Or we can work with one that you bring that we haven't worked with before. But getting that designer on board at least 8 weeks before you intend to launch is ideal. It takes them a lot of time to shop and source those 100 to 300,000 items and to make sure they're what you want, what the guests want, and with all the timeline. And then I would say, as you get your designer, you want to let us know of your plans, that if you need an install team. And that's a much shorter time process, honestly, for us. We just pack our tools and we show up and we do whatever we are told to do. We are kind of the grunt work of this, but we work really hard and really thoroughly. And we're doing this new thing now where if you know that managing all of the ordering and the receiving is just overwhelming to you because you're like, okay, I order Amazon, it comes to my front porch, Wayfair front porch. But what about if my front porch is 4 states away? Like, how do I do that? Well, we have the answer to that. So we have a receiving team. We can work with your designer. They'll make the purchases, we'll make the receiving. And we have somebody that's on site at your property for 2 weeks. And this not only solves the problem of getting all the stuff to your house. So if it goes to the local post office, our receiver will run it down and bring it back and before it gets shipped back to the sender, which has happened to too many people to count. This I hear problems and I'm like, okay, that's a problem. How do we solve it? And so that's what we do here. So our receiver will run down all the packages, start checking off the inventory to make sure everything's arrived. And then we color code things like green, yellow, red. If it's red, we start acting immediately to solve that problem and make sure that when the install team lands, that they are good to go. And we just plow through that project. We get it done quickly and we are out in 7 days. You can have your cleaner come in, your photographer come in, and your guests come in right behind. So we do have that receiving process that helps owners. I forgot your question as I was just rambling on.
No, no, that's great. You're just kind of educating us on what working with launched hosts actually looks like.
Yeah.
So that's like a dream, right? To just
It
be able to.
it is. The other thing is often so your designer will probably want to make some renovations in your home. Sometimes it's adding or taking away walls and it's a big deal. Other times, I would say the four like simple renovations that most people do will include paint, will include new light fixtures, and then the third would be probably like sink faucets or things like that, and then potentially flooring. So those are the big four. They're fairly simple cosmetic changes that go on, but sometimes contractors do not work at the pace that we would like them to, and they are really optimistic on their own timelines and they don't always meet them. So when we have a receiver in there collecting packages for 2 weeks before we start the install, kind of helps nudge the contractors along and give us a good feel for, if your painter says, I'll be there at 7 and I'll work until 7, like I'm going to work all day, I promise. And then they show up at 11 and leave at 3. We could communicate these things with you so that we can be on top of things a little bit better than, oh my gosh, the install team is here and the painter said they were done. And, it gets a little hairy. So we feel like it solves a lot of problems as best we can for owners that are remote. So that's one thing we try to help do. Another thing, if you were to work with an install company like ours, is yes, you can have your handyman or your housekeeper build all your furniture, right? They can do that. A lot of people can build furniture to a level, one level or another. We make sure it's done right. We go the extra step to add like Loctite in the screws so your metal screws don't get, they don't start to shift and your furniture doesn't get loose over time. We also do what I'm currently calling, until I come up with a better name, a multi-point home inspection. So it's not like a home inspection, but like I think of it as when you go to get your oil changed, they don't just change your oil, they do like all this stuff where they check your car. So when we are at the house, we will give you this itemized list of Do your windows and doors all slide and open and latch correctly? Does your water flow work? You were talking about new construction. Sometimes there's so much sputtering in the water line. So we just run the water. We make sure hot and cold are on and working in an appropriate time with an appropriate flow without the sputtering. If you get new appliances, sometimes they don't connect the dishwasher to the counter. They don't attach it and they just shove it in there and set it to go. Your refrigerator will be plugged in, but we found refrigerators that didn't have the water and ice hooked up. So we make sure your water and ice hooked up. If it's February, we're going to check your AC because by May, when you need it, we want to make sure that it's working. It may not have run for a year. Then we want to check to make sure that it kicks on. So we'll take that one. We will freeze ourselves out long enough to know that the AC is on, it's working on every floor, or alert you if it's not. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. We really look at everything, no stone unturned, to make sure that your guest doesn't walk in and go, "This is weird." And you go, "Oh, I had no idea. Nobody told me." So we want to make sure that we're telling you and that we're trying to work on solving that problem.
Well, and I love that, you guys are there. You're like having the lived experience in that home. So, and you're an owner and a host yourself. So, because of that, you truly understand what this property needs and, understand what the appropriate guest expectations are. So, that's fantastic, Kim. How can people find you and how can people find Launched Host?
The easiest way to find me is on Facebook. Honestly, I post everything all day, every day. My whole life is out there for you to binge if you want. I don't hardly edit anything. So you're getting the real raw me all the time. So Facebook is the easiest, just under my name, Kim Fitzpatrick. You can find me on Instagram under Launch Toast. And I do have a website, launchtoast.com. I'll be honest. I would rather go build furniture and work on your home than work on my website. So it is what it is, but it helps you to find me. And then we can schedule a call and we can talk and get into the nitty gritty of your property. And if you want to DIY it versus hire someone, and we're here to help no matter what area of the spectrum you are on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Kim. As we talked, and I've done installs myself. I was this stone cold newbie who thought that I could show up and be done in like a week or two. Mm-mm. It was like a month and a half. I ended up staying in Alabama working on the setup of my property. I had to move my return flight date twice so that
Oh,
I could
God.
wrap up everything that needed to be done. So I appreciate truly the value of the service that you guys provide at Launch Toast. And I love just gleaning the few little tidbits that I did as we went through the conversation. I know that people who, whether they choose to DIY or reach out to you, lots of nuggets in there and lots of things that people can use to help them in whatever they're doing. And it proves that it can be done. The 7-day setup can be done. I loved that you shared approximately how many people on the job according to the size of the property. And I think that there's lots that we can learn. I will also say and back up with Kim. I follow her on social media. She's always posting videos and things of being on the job. So be sure to tune into her social channels so you can be getting kind of that little behind the scenes sneak peek at how they're actually pulling off these 7-day setups. So thank you so much, Kim, for joining us. Really appreciated having you on today's show.
I'm thrilled to be here. So thank you for having me.